There's a quiet strength in the Stoic way of life, a kind of strength that doesn't shout, doesn't chase revenge, and doesn't break under pressure. The Stoics believed that the greatest battles are rarely fought on the outside, they happen within. And when someone doesn't just dislike you, but wants to break you, that's where your true philosophy is tested. You see, they won't always come at you with a sword. Sometimes they come with a smile, with subtle words, with slow erosion. And if you're not paying attention, you'll confuse their manipulation for concern, their sabotage for advice, and their darkness for reflection of your own doubt. But here's what Stoicism teaches us. Your peace is yours to protect, your mind is yours to master, and your worth is not up for negotiation. You do not respond to destruction by becoming destructive. You rise, quietly, with discipline, with clarity, with calm that unsettles those who expected chaos. In this series, we're going to explore 7 warning signs that someone doesn't just hate you, they're working to destroy you, and more importantly, how to handle it the Stoic way, with strength, with wisdom, and without ever losing yourself in the process. Part 1. They spread rumors to damage your reputation, protect your character, not your image. There's a unique kind of pain that comes when you realize someone is quietly trying to ruin how others see you. They don't confront you directly. They don't offer truth or clarity. Instead, they spread whispers. They twist facts. They plant doubt in rooms you've never entered, hoping by the time you get there, the air is already poisoned. And here's the hard truth. They're not just trying to hurt your feelings. They're trying to destroy your credibility. When someone spreads rumors about you, it's not just about drama. It's about power, control, reputation, and often it's rooted in something deeper than dislike. It's rooted in envy, in fear, in a quiet resentment that you hold something, respect, presence, potential, that they feel they lack. But instead of rising, they aim to pull you down, not by direct attack, but by erosion. One lie at a time. Now here's where Stoic philosophy comes in, because this isn't about fighting back the way you might think. The Stoics never taught us to chase down every lie or argue with every critic. They taught us to protect something far more valuable than image, our character. Epictetus said it clearly, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. What he meant wasn't to accept false accusations, but to stop placing your peace in the hands of public opinion. Because no matter how loud the rumor, truth has a longer lifespan. There's a man I once knew, let's call him Daniel. He built something real, a business, a following, a mission. And as he rose, the whispers started. People who didn't understand his vision or felt threatened by it began spreading lies, that he stole ideas, that he manipulated clients, that he wasn't who he claimed to be. Daniel could have fought back, could have gone live and set the record straight, but he didn't. You know what he did? He kept building. He kept showing up. He let the rumors burn themselves out against the wall of his consistency, and over time, people saw the truth. Not because he shouted louder, but because his work couldn't be denied. That's the Stoic way. Let your life outlive the lies. So what do you do when someone is actively damaging your name? First, stay calm. Rumors are emotional traps. They want your reaction. Don't give it. Second, clarify with integrity. If the situation requires it, speak with poise, not defensiveness. Never beg to be believed. Speak once, speak truth, then move. Third, build so strongly that their version of you becomes impossible to accept. Reputation built on performance and presence eventually drowns out speculation. And finally, don't become like them. It's tempting to retaliate, to gossip back, to smear them as they did to you. But you're not here to mirror destruction. You're here to transcend it. The Stoic path isn't passive. It's powerful. It doesn't ignore evil, but it refuses to become evil in response. So yes, they may lie. They may try to dismantle the version of you others see. But remember this, your character is stronger than their words. Your consistency will outlast their rumor. And the people meant for you, the ones who matter, they won't be swayed by noise. They'll feel the difference between fiction and presence. Let them talk. You've got a legacy to build. Part 2. They manipulate your emotions to gain control, reclaim your mind before they hijack it. Sometimes, the most dangerous attacks aren't physical, and they aren't loud. They come wrapped in soft words, careful timing, or a calculated silence. They don't scream, they whisper. And before you realize what's happening, your mood has shifted, your confidence has cracked, and you're making decisions based on pressure you didn't even see being applied. This isn't random, it's manipulation. And when someone doesn't just hate you, but truly wants to control or crush you, they'll go after your emotions long before they go after your actions. Because if they can steer your emotions, they don't have to lift a finger. They've already won. But here's what the Stoics understood better than almost anyone. You cannot control what others do, but you can always control what you do with it. They taught us that our emotions are our responsibility, not because we're cold or detached, but because we are the gatekeepers of our own peace. It is not things that disturb us, wrote Epictetus, but our opinions about them. And that idea? It's the antidote to manipulation. Let's break this down. When someone wants to shake you, they don't always confront you. Instead, they confuse you. They send mixed signals, praise you one day, undermine you the next. They keep you guessing. They ask loaded questions. They guilt trip you with phrases like, "I just thought you'd care," or "I guess I expected more from you." All of it is engineered to put you off balance. Not because they care, but because they want control and emotional confusion. That's the leash they use. I remember a story from a friend, Sarah. She was in a friendship that slowly turned toxic. At first it felt close, intense. But over time, this person began to chip away at her confidence. They'd make little comments that seemed like jokes, until they weren't. They'd praise her when she was compliant and go silent when she made decisions on her own. Every interaction became a test. Was she loyal enough? Agreeable enough? Easy to manage? And for months, she didn't even notice the pattern. Until one day she realized she wasn't living her life anymore. She was living someone else's expectations. That was the wake-up call. So how do you protect your emotions from this kind of manipulation? First, notice how people make you feel when you leave the room. Not just what they say, but how they affect your energy. Do you feel centered? Or do you feel off? Second, create internal clarity. Stoicism teaches us to anchor ourselves not in emotion, but in principle. Ask, what do I believe? What do I value? What outcome aligns with my integrity? Use that as your compass, not their approval. And third, and this is big, pause before responding. Emotional manipulation thrives on speed. When you react instantly, you give them access to your nervous system. But when you pause, even for 5 seconds, you break the loop. You think, you breathe, you take back the reins. People who want to destroy you will often try to do it subtly, by turning you against yourself. They don't need to attack if they can make you doubt your own intuition. But you have a choice. You always have a choice. You can feel the pressure and still respond with calm. You can feel the push and still hold your ground. You can feel the shame and still know it doesn't belong to you. This is what Stoicism gives us. Not numbness, but sovereignty. You don't lose your emotions, you lead them. And once you do, once you learn to recognize manipulation for what it is, you become unshakable. Because they can twist words, they can play games, but they can't hijack a mind that refuses to be piloted by anyone else. Part 3. They try to provoke you into losing control because your reaction is their victory. If someone can't match your strength, your clarity, or your presence, they'll try to disrupt it. And one of the oldest tactics in human conflict is this: provoke the strong into acting weak. They want you to snap, to yell, to defend, to react in a way that confirms the image they've already painted of you, not because it's true, but because it gives them ammunition. And the moment you lose control, they win. But here's what the Stoics taught with clarity. The one who angers you controls you. Marcus Aurelius didn't rise to power by chasing insults. He rose by mastering the only thing he truly owned, his mind. He understood that outrage is easy. Anyone can throw a tantrum, but calm under pressure, that's the mark of someone unshakable. Let's be honest. Provocation is often strategic. It's not random. It's timed, it's subtle, it's delivered just when you're tired, vulnerable, or emotionally exposed. A little comment here, a smirk there, a passive-aggressive question that sounds innocent but hits like a blade. They want to watch you lose it, not just to hurt you, but to undermine your credibility. Because once you react emotionally, they don't have to destroy your image. You just did it for them. I'll never forget the story of a client I worked with, Michael. Strong, composed, deeply intelligent. But there was one colleague who constantly pushed his buttons. In meetings, this person would interrupt, misquote him, question his motives, and for weeks, Michael stayed calm. Until one day, he snapped, raised his voice, walked out. And guess what? That 5 seconds of emotion became the story. Not the months of integrity, but the one outburst. That's what people remembered. And the person provoking him, they smiled because that was the goal all along. So how do you protect yourself when someone is baiting you into emotional self-destruction? First, recognize the setup. If someone's trying to press your buttons repeatedly, it's not by accident. It's a test. Step 1 is awareness. Step 2 is refusal to play. You don't have to engage every challenge. Just because someone tosses a match doesn't mean you have to pour gasoline. Third, master the pause. Before reacting, take one breath. One full, intentional breath. That space between stimulus and response, that's where your freedom lives. And finally, let your restraint be the statement. The person who cannot be provoked is a threat to those who manipulate. Your calm will confuse them. Your silence will disarm them. Your refusal to take the bait will rob them of the only strategy they have. It's not about being passive. It's about being powerful. Stoic power isn't the kind that shouts across the room. It's the kind that stares back with stillness and says, "You don't get to decide who I am." So the next time someone tries to push you to your edge, remember this. Your reaction is your responsibility. No one can drag you into chaos unless you offer them your peace first. Protect it like your life depends on it. Because in many ways, the life you want does. Part 4, they pretend to be a friend to extract information. Trust actions, not proximity. One of the most deceptive moves someone can make against you is pretending to stand beside you while secretly working to pull you down. They smile, they nod, they share inside jokes and check in when things go wrong. But beneath that surface-level support, they're not listening to understand you, they're listening to use you. To gather details, to gather vulnerabilities, to gather intel they can twist and turn when the timing is right. And the most unsettling part? It often feels like friendship until it doesn't. The Stoics were incredibly cautious about who they trusted. They didn't believe in paranoia, but they did believe in discernment. Seneca once said, "It is more important to know what sort of person has a disease than to know what disease the person has." Applied today, it's not just about what someone says, it's about who they consistently show themselves to be. When someone doesn't just dislike you but wants to destroy you, they know a direct attack can be too obvious, so instead, they draw near. They make you feel safe, comfortable, open, and the moment you let your guard down, they start recording mentally. They collect what makes you tick, what hurts, who you care about, what insecurities you've quietly admitted, and later, maybe weeks, maybe months, they use it. In a moment you least expect, in a room you're not in, your words appear again, but distorted, weaponized, and wrapped in just enough truth to be believable. I remember a story from someone I worked with, Emily. In a high-level leadership role, she had what seemed like a supportive colleague. They had lunch often, texted outside of work, shared frustrations. It felt safe. Until the day she found out that many of the things she'd said in private Struggles, doubts, team concerns had been shared with higher management, out of context. Not just shared, but spun. And when she confronted it, that person acted confused, even hurt. That's how emotional betrayal works. It leaves you questioning your own instincts. So, how do you protect yourself from this kind of manipulation? First, watch for mismatches between words and patterns. Are they overly interested in your private life, but rarely share anything real about theirs? Do they change around different groups? Are they quick to gossip about others? Because if they bring other people's business to you, trust me, they're bringing your business elsewhere too. Second, slow down trust. Friendship isn't a sprint. People reveal who they are over time, especially under pressure. Pay attention to how they handle your boundaries, your silence, or your wins. Someone who supports you only when you're struggling might not be a true friend. They may just be addicted to your vulnerability. Third, hold your core truths close. You don't have to share everything with everyone just because they're nearby. Proximity doesn't equal loyalty. Frequency doesn't equal depth. The strongest people aren't guarded. They're selective. They give trust in layers, not in lumps. And if someone eventually shows you who they really are, believe it. Don't cling to the version you hoped they were. Don't negotiate your peace to keep a history intact. Let them go, not with bitterness, but with clarity. Because Stoicism reminds us, your peace, your mind, and your energy are sacred. Not everyone deserves access, especially those who wear a mask just to gather what they can use against you later. Protect your circle, protect your truth, and most importantly, protect yourself from those who smile with their lips while hiding knives in their silence. Part 5. They isolate you from people who empower you. Reconnect with your strength by reclaiming your circle. If someone truly wanted to see you thrive, they'd cheer for the people who lift you. But when someone doesn't just dislike you, when they want to control or even destroy you, they don't always confront you head-on. Sometimes they simply work to cut you off from the people who remind you of your worth. And they don't do it loudly, they do it subtly. They plant ideas like seeds. They suggest your friends are jealous, or holding you back, or just not good for you anymore. It sounds like concern, but it's really corrosion. Slowly pulling you away from the relationships that ground you, the voices that tell you the truth, and the people who've helped shape your identity. The Stoics warned about being mindful of influence. They valued independence, yes, but not isolation. Marcus Aurelius saw us as parts of a greater whole, connected, each supporting the other. So when someone begins to make you question those connections, when you start drifting away from the people who once kept you anchored, you need to pause and ask, is this really evolution, or is it manipulation? I knew someone named Jordan who slowly lost contact with her core friends. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't obvious. Her partner didn't forbid the friendships. They just created doubt around them. And in time, Jordan stopped sharing, stopped reaching out. And when things in her life crumbled, there was no one left. The lifelines that could have caught her had been cut. That's what isolation does. It weakens you slowly until you forget what it feels like to be fully seen. So how do you stop it? First, notice your patterns. Who have you stopped talking to, and why? Was it your own decision or someone else's influence? Second, pay attention to how someone reacts when you connect with empowering people. If your strength makes them uneasy, it's a sign. Third, rebuild those bridges, reach back, reconnect. Even one message can remind you of who you used to be before you were dimmed. And most importantly, never let one person become your entire world. No matter how close you are, your sense of self must be bigger than their shadow. Because the truth is, people who want to isolate you rarely want to help you. They want to manage you. But connection isn't a weakness. It's your lifeline, your protection. And the people who truly care about you, they're still out there, ready to remind you that you never had to walk this alone. Part 6. They undermine your confidence bit by bit. Rebuild yourself where they tried to break you. It doesn't always happen with a single blow. In fact, it rarely does. When someone wants to destroy you, they don't swing hard once, they chip away quietly. Bit by bit, a comment here, a joke there, a question that sounds innocent but lingers in your mind long after it's been said. Are you sure that's a good idea? You're really gonna wear that? You always overthink things. It starts as something small, something you might brush off. But it accumulates, and over time, you begin to second-guess things you used to feel sure of. Your voice trembles a little more, your choices take longer, your energy feels heavier, and eventually, you don't need anyone else to tear you down, because you've started doing it to yourself. The Stoics taught us that confidence is not a performance. It's not arrogance, it's clarity. It's the ability to walk through the world without needing constant approval. But when someone wants to make you feel small, they target that clarity. They don't just want to criticize you, they want you to question yourself. Because once they get inside your head, they don't have to do much else. The work is already being done from the inside out. I once knew a guy named Brandon. Smart, skilled, talented, but he had a manager who constantly chipped away at him. Never harshly, never directly, just subtly. Every time Brandon brought a solution, the manager would pick it apart. Every compliment came with a caveat. Nice work, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. And over the course of a year, Brandon changed. He became quieter, more hesitant. He stopped taking initiative, not because he lacked ability, but because he no longer trusted himself. And that's the most dangerous part of psychological sabotage. It doesn't break your bones. It breaks your belief. So how do you rebuild what they've tried to erode? First, catch the patterns. Write down the phrases you hear often. Are they constructive, or are they veiled attacks masked as feedback? Second, track how your energy shifts around that person. If you walk away feeling smaller every time, that's data. Pay attention to it. Third, start affirming your own voice again. Literally, speak your ideas out loud. Make small decisions quickly. Reclaim the habit of trusting your own judgment. And finally, do not wait for them to validate you. Don't give someone who benefits from your self-doubt the power to define your value. Your confidence is not a favor they can grant. It's a foundation you have to protect. They may have tried to plant doubt in your spirit, but that seed only grows if you water it. So stop watering it, starve it, and instead feed the parts of you that they tried to weaken. Because no matter what they've said, no matter how long you've carried those quiet echoes of doubt, you were never as fragile as they made you feel. And their voice doesn't belong inside your head. You are not small. You were made to rise. Part 7, they want to see you fall completely. Rise quietly, stand unbreakable. There are people who dislike you, there are people who don't understand you, and then there are those who want to see you fail, not just stumble, but collapse. They don't want you to have a bad day, they want you to lose everything. Your reputation, your peace, your footing, your name. This kind of hate runs deeper than disagreement. It's not rooted in conflict, it's rooted in resentment. And what makes it even more dangerous is that sometimes it's disguised behind politeness, behind a smile, behind the mask of someone who claps for you in public, but quietly cheers for your downfall when you're not in the room. The Stoics knew that there would always be those who wanted to see them fall. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, he had armies, wealth, and power, but in his journals he wrote not about his enemies, but about his inner stability. Because he understood what every truly grounded person knows. You can't control who tries to destroy you. You can only control whether they succeed. And the way they succeed, it's when you break, when you let the bitterness in, when you become what they want you to become, defensive, reactive, But here's the truth. People who want to see you fall are never stronger than you. They're just louder. And louder doesn't mean wiser. More aggressive doesn't mean more right. Their energy may be forceful, but yours is focused, and that's what makes you untouchable. I once worked with someone named Elise. For years, she built her business quietly. No gimmicks, no shortcuts, just honest, focused work. And she had competitors, people who didn't just want a bigger slice of the market, they wanted her out. They spread rumors, copied her branding, undercut her deals. For a while it worked. She lost clients, lost momentum. But what she didn't lose was her core, her ethic, her discipline. She rebuilt, slowly, quietly. And 3 years later, she didn't just recover, she outlasted everyone who had tried to bury her. That's Stoicism in action. That's the quiet power of not quitting. So if you feel like someone is hoping you'll fail, here's what you do. Don't argue, don't beg, don't perform. Just build. It's so focused on your path that their distractions become background noise. Strengthen your foundation so much that even if they hit you, you don't shake. And most importantly, never let their hate become your identity. Because the moment you start playing their game, you've already lost your peace. You don't need to prove them wrong. You just need to prove yourself right by standing every single time they hoped you'd fall. Let them wait. Let them watch. But you rise. Quietly, calmly, unbreakably. Thank you for listening. If this message brought you clarity, subscribe to The Chill Stoic and keep walking your path with calm and strength.